Welcome back to the Commanders Declassified podcast, your home for all things Washington Commanders. Eric, what's up, man?
Well, happy podcast day to you, my friend.
Happy podcast day. Twitter is ablaze with quarterback talk. Jaden Daniels this, Drake May that, Caleb Williams who. We're not going to do that tonight. Tonight we're going to talk roster, the roster gaps that we still have left, what we think we still need to fill based on guys currently on the roster, what we feel comfortable with and what we don't. As always, hit the comments. Tell us what you think we need to do on the roster and where we're going to fill those holes. Eric, let's kick it off with this question here. Without looking at the roster, what position do you feel like is our biggest position of need on the current team?
Oh, it's a good thing I was prepared for this question by not looking at the roster. No, I think left tackle is still a hole. I know they re-signed. I already forgot his name. That's how good he is. Yeah, they re-signed the swing tackle from last year. I can never remember his name when I'm thinking of it, but I thought he was going to.
It's not Charles Leno. It's the other guy.
The other guy. Hang on. Let's go back. This is embarrassing. I should know this guy's name, but I don't because that's why you had me here, because I'm good looking. Cornelius Lucas, that's who I'm talking about. So yeah, Cornelius Lucas re-signed at 32 years old. Is he he's capable of starting left tackle? Is he a 17-game starter that the team shouldn't look to improve on? I don't think so, but good re-signing. You need that swing tackle. That he was one that I thought would leave earlier this season, and I thought they would bring someone else in. But good on him. He's back. I have no problem with him. Don't at me. I just thought he would get a better offer somewhere else. I guess he didn't. He's back on a 1-year deal. So good for him. But I think left tackle is still a hole. So that's probably our largest. We still haven't gotten that. Well, I don't know. The Mike Davis, was it Mike Davis, the corner they signed from San Diego or the Chargers? He's been pretty good in the past. He's been a starter. He's not old. So maybe he's our guy starting on the other side of St. Juste and or Forbes. But those are probably our two biggest holes that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, Mike Davis is 30, by the way. 29. So 7 years of experience. So aside from quarterback, I should have probably prefaced that because quarterback is obviously a gigantic hole right now. But I think I think you're right. I think I agree with you. It's along the offensive line. We still have some gaps to fill there and secondary. So we just need to see the plan materialize at safety and how they're going to use rotation. But I don't think safety is a need, really. But we'll get into that. Let's just take it from the top of the roster. The quarterback room is currently Jake Fromm, Marcus Mariota. I think we both are in lockstep that they're going to pick a guy at number 2, correct?
Yes. We are not in lockstep about who, but we are in lockstep that they're going to pick somebody. Yeah.
Yes. And I am now 90% confident it's going to be Jaden Daniels at 2 overall. But I know you disagree.
I'm 50-50.
No. Way to pick a side.
Yeah, I pick both. Yeah.
All right. So running back wise, we got, let's see. We obviously have Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson Jr., Chris Rodriguez, Jonathan Williams is still on the roster, Derek Gore, Alex Arnold. Do you think that this running back room gets any major shakeups this offseason, aside from Eckler, like in the draft or whatever?
My guy Will Shipley. I'm gonna hold on hope until he's on the roster or he's not. I think you can still add a running back in the draft. Most of the guys after, honestly, Eckler probably are not locks to make the roster. I think B-Rob and Eckler are there. They're on the roster. Chris Rodriguez has a pretty good chance. He showed enough last year. Did he show enough for this coaching staff to like him? I think probably he did. He looked pretty good in his limited opportunities last year. Jay Will, that's our guy. He's welcome on my team anytime. But surviving a new coaching staff as a backup running back is a tall order. But if anybody's up to it, my guy Jay Will is. The rest of those guys are guys that the previous staff brought in, didn't really do a lot while they were here, put enough on film, I wouldn't think, to play well enough. So I think a running back in the draft is certainly not out of the question, and I would almost say it's likely. I don't think they invest a day 1 pick, obviously, or really you start looking back into the third round. I think is that running back area that they may look to target. But I think the running back room is still a work in progress.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I mean, I think the top three are there, like you said, Eckler, Robinson, Rodriguez. Those guys are probably all there. Derek Gore's out of here, will be my guess. Um, that's an Eric Bieniemy special right there, right? Yeah. Jay Will, friend of the podcast, been on here before. As you said, that's our dude. I think, he's got to make his case in camp. I think he'll get that opportunity. But I do think they're going to take somebody. I just think it's probably like 6th round, somewhere like that. Maybe take a flyer on a guy, see what you get out of that player there. All right, wide receivers. Kaz Allen, Diami Brown, Jamison Crowder, Davion Davis, Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin, Dax Milne, Byron Pringle, Mitchell Tinsley, and Bryson Tremaine. All those guys making it? You think we need some significant
Every single one of them. No, absolutely not. I don't think anybody past Jahan Dotson is 100% a lock. Diami Brown may be there. Jamison Crowder, they just re-signed it. I think he'll be back. Diami Brown has to step up. The rest of the guys, again, their holdovers didn't get a ton of playing time. It's going to be a tall order for them to make an impact and make the roster. So there's still some free agents out there. I don't know that they're going big at this point, but there's definitely some names out there if they're looking at the draft. As of now, I haven't checked as of the last 15 minutes, but I saw Mike Williams did sign a deal with the Jets, so he's off the market. But you've got Josh Reynolds out there, Michael Thomas if you want 4 games. OBJ is out there. Like if you really, I don't think any of those guys are really in play. Maybe somebody. I think you had Reynolds as a possibility, and I don't think that's out of the question. He is that nice big body wide receiver, and like a DJ Chark is out there. I don't know what he gives you that like the other that the other guys on this roster don't, but they're out there, right? So I think you look to the draft for a wide receiver. It's a massive, deep wide receiver draft all the way through probably round 4. You're going to be able to find them quality wide receivers. So I think that's where they look.
Yeah, I think we're taking multiple receivers in the draft, and I think maybe as early as round 3. But I would say, if not 3, then 4. There's some really good guys, like you said, and I agree. I think anybody past the first 2 or their spots up for grabs. Crowder's probably more of the return guy, so he'll be on a roster for that. Maybe not so much to play in the slot as much this year. Diami's super iffy for me this year. I'm a Diami supporter. You know that, but I just don't know if the tape is there to keep him on the roster. Like he's going to have to really show improved hands during the offseason to stick around. Milne, I don't think that he's done enough there. Pringle was a Bieniemy guy. Tinsley, you never know. And Bryce Tremaine, we just didn't see enough. Maybe practice squad guys. But there's a lot of shakeup to happen in the wide receiver room, including the impactful position like wide receiver 3, I think is still not on this roster yet. All right, tight ends, man. We want to love John Bates, but, Zach Ertz was just brought in, Armani Rogers, and Cole Turner. 4 tight ends currently. How many of these guys go into the season with us on the roster, do you think?
Yeah, that's going to be a tough call. I think Bates probably makes it because he's the blocker out of the group. And there's always a spot for a blocking tight end on the roster. You can make a long career out of that. Don't know that he's, I had kind of like visions of Jason Witten in my head when I saw him initially with just that like sneaky route running, but it's just not there. The hands haven't really been consistent, but he's going to have a job as a blocking tight end for a long time. Probably here for another year or 2 at least, depending on how well he impresses this coaching staff. Zach Ertz, they signed him. He'll be here. Cole Turner, will they fall in love with him the way the previous staff did? Will he dazzle them with his practice play? Who knows? It certainly didn't show up on the field with Cole Turner. Armani Rogers is a guy they really liked, but got hurt last year. How's he coming off the injury? I think tight end, there's some really good tight ends available in the draft. I've talked at length about my guy, Kate Stover, Jatavian Sanders. Those are the 2 that I absolutely would be enamored with if we were to pick those guys. We're not going to be in the big guy from Georgia sweepstakes, I don't think, but there's plenty of good tight ends in the draft. I think you draft at least one tight end, and if it's one of my two, then you've got a fan for life, like I'm not already.
I think that already. I think so. Listen, the Cole Turner stuff. I'm out on it till I see something. I know the talent's there, but at the end of the day, production is what matters. I think Armani Rogers is a fit for this team. I think he has a role here, and I think Zach Ertz is absolutely here. We can argue about John Bates. He's hit or miss for me. I wouldn't cry if he didn't make it. I think we look at Dallin Holker. We talked about him before on this podcast, the big tight end from CSU, Colorado State University. I think he could be an option maybe a little later in the draft. Big body, good hands, physical, good player there. But I think in general, the tight end room is definitely ripe for some shakeup there as well. At least one of those tight ends will be replaced with somebody in the draft. O-line, Tyler Biazitz, Tyler Larson, Nolan Laufenberg, Ricky Stromberg as our centers. What do you think about that group? Obviously, I think we signed a starter, right?
I just want to hear you mispronounce Tyler Biadasz just over and over again. Just say his name nonstop. Yeah, the center room, if there's a center in the draft, you've got plenty of backup centers on your roster. Biadasz is the clear starter. Stromberg was a draft pick last year. He's on a cheap deal. Is there potential there? We don't know. I of course liked him a lot coming out. Word on him seems to be that he's more of a zone type runner and not so much the gap runner that they're thinking that this staff and Anthony Lynn really likes, or blocker rather. So we'll see how that works out. Wouldn't surprise me for them to add a center in the draft, but I'm ambivalent either way because I haven't seen enough of most of these guys. Just the guys that we've had weren't cutting it; they were getting hurt. So Tyler Larson I actually liked, but he just couldn't stay on the field. So I'm completely fine with whatever they do there. But yeah, center. It's a very important position, and we've got an established starter. So I'm good with center.
Yeah, same. Definitely the same. All right, from a guard perspective, Nick Allegretti, Braden Daniels, Chris Paul, Andrew Wiley, Alex Akingbulu. God, I'm messing these names up tonight. Forgive me. Mason Brooks, Sam Cosme, Julian Good-Jones, and Cornelius Lucas, as well as Trent Scott. Oh, I went to the guards and the tackles. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, we got Lucas as a guard. Okay.
Allegretti, Braden Daniels, Chris Paul, and Andrew Wiley. Are we comfortable there?
I'm okay with it. I think that Sam Cosme's he's got right guard lockdown. Sure. He was good enough last year. People really seem to. I don't know enough about guard play to speak super intelligently on it. I know that smart people who do know a lot about guard play say he did really well. He was the highest graded, one of the highest graded guards on PFF. He's got that on lockdown. Wiley, I think when he came here last year, I kind of wasn't just me, but kind of said he was better suited to be a guard anyway. Just because he had played tackle in the Super Bowl, everybody just immediately made him a tackle. Clearly, BNME wanted him to play tackle. Didn't work out. He's a serviceable left guard. I wouldn't have a problem with him, going into the season. Allegretti's another one that you don't know enough about. He's another playoff hero. Didn't get a lot of playing time during the season, but when he did, he played well. Can he hold up over a whole season? Who knows? Again, wouldn't surprise me if a guard is taken, if a guard is drafted somewhere late day 2, sometime on day 3. Braden Daniels really didn't show a ton. Who's the guy? What was it? I'm trying to think of it. There's a guy that was like, he won 1 rep in the playoff in preseason last year, and everybody just lost their minds over him. He was one of the guys you listed. I just can't think of his name right now, but he won, like whatever they had a joint practice, he won a rep, and everybody just thought he was going to be the next big thing, and you never heard his name again. So maybe he'll win it. No, it wasn't Chris Paul. I forgot about Chris Paul. Chris Paul might be a candidate to improve for the same reason that maybe Stromberg won't, is that Chris Paul really seems like he's more of that road grader guy who might be really good for a gap running scheme. So maybe he's a guy to watch. But yeah, it doesn't matter. It wouldn't surprise me for them to take a guard, but I think they can go into the season with what they have, and I'd be fine.
Okay. You got tackle position, Alex Akingbulu, Mason Brooks, Sam Cosmi, Julian Good-Jones, Cornelius Lucas, and Trent Scott.
Okay, Mason Brooks is the guy I was just thinking of. That's the guy who won the rep. I thought he was a guard. Maybe he's a tackle. Yeah, we said it earlier. We need a tackle is needed. My guy Jordan Davis out of Arizona State in the draft, or Arizona in the draft. Would love to see him if he's around, like that pick 36, if he's still there. Not 100% likely. Would love to see that guy bring in. Is there a tackle on the free agent market that would interest you at this point? David Bakhtiari is an interesting name. He's only 32. He has had some injury issues. Does he even want to come here? Yeah, I could be talked into Bakhtiari. Mekhi Becton's still out there. He hasn't really lived up to expectations, but he's first round pedigree, But I think they look to the draft to pick their next left tackle, probably with that pick 36.
Yep. I don't think they go after one of these aging veterans. All of them have issues with health, staying healthy. I think Bakhtiari was debating retirement. You'd stay away from that. Just go get a young guy, coach him up. All right, defensive end position. We got a lot of them, so bear with me here. Dorrance Armstrong, Clelin Ferrell, Dante Fowler Jr., Jalen Harris, KJ Henry, Andre Jones, F.A. Obata, Joshua Pryor, James Smith-Williams, and Casey Toohill. Now, a lot of names there. I don't think we keep, what is that, like 10 or 11 DEs?
Yeah, two of them aren't even on the team anymore. So
yeah, this roster must be out of date.
Yeah, that's an old roster. Yeah, because Toohill and James Smith-Williams, Toohill just signed with the Bills, I want to say, or he just signed somewhere.
Yeah. See, that's what I get for using that.
Yeah.
Dorrance Armstrong. Let's try this again. Dorrance Armstrong, Brandon Bouye Randall. Let's see. Clelin Ferrell, Dante Fowler, Jalen Harris, KJ Henry, Andre Jones.
There you go. That's better. Yeah, Toohill did just sign with the Bills, so he's long gone. James Smith-Williams is still out there. I think you draft a pass rusher. I don't know if it's a day 1 or 2 pick, unless it's one of those guys that just falls like Luatu. I'm terrible with names. The kid from UCLA who's got the medical history. If he somehow falls to like 36, maybe you take it, but I don't see that happening at all. Or the kid from Missouri who might be there, super athletic, but the production maybe wasn't as great. Maybe one of those guys. But I think they draft. But the guys they brought in, more than serviceable. Like Clelin Ferrell's an interesting name because he was a high pick, considered a bust because he was picked like number 4 overall or something like that by Mike Mayock. He's actually pretty good. He's not an elite edge rusher, but he's a good edge setter, good defensive end. So I have no problem with bringing him in, especially, on a shorter deal that's less expensive. And we didn't waste a high pick on him. So I'm completely cool with that. Dante Fowler is Dan Quinn's guy. He's going to give you what he gives you at this point. He's getting up there in age. Dorrance Armstrong ready to step into the starting role. So there's plenty of depth there. And I'm okay with it. F.A. Obata they just brought back. He's been a pretty productive pass rusher in small doses. So good to have him back. I'm coming off an injury though, but whatever. So I'm cool with the defensive end room as it stands, but I do think they add something in the draft.
Yeah, I actually think they're gonna leave it the way it is. I mean, maybe a late round undrafted free agent or a late round 7th round player, but I think generally speaking, they're going to leave it like it is. I am now switching for our listeners and viewers over to the Commanders site instead of ESPN.
Got to go to Yahoo, man. Go to Yahoo.
Garbage. All right. And it is impossible to find a complete roster right here. All right. I'm going to go back to ESPN because I can't. It's not working. All right. Let's go to our tackles, defensive tackles. John Allen, Abdullah Anderson, David Bada, Curtis Brooks, Fidarian Mathis, Deron Payne, Benny Pote, John Ridgeway. That's a lot of names too. How do you feel about that tackle room, defensive tackle room?
Yeah, it is a lot of names. Obviously Allen and Payne, those are the guys they're going to build the defensive around. They've said as much as they should. Those are the 2 best players they have on defense right now, aside from Bobby Wagner. So I love the starting lineup. Ridgeway. So Ridgeway is a guy that I believe they had in Dallas. They had him on the practice squad, and Washington poached him. So maybe they like him. And can this be the staff that gets something out of Fidarian Mathis, Phil Mathis? Sure. Let's see what happens there. He's a second round pick that just, with injuries and hasn't really been super effective since he's been in the league. Maybe this is the staff that that unlocks Mathis. Definitely not a priority in the draft this year, but it's one of those positions that you kind of always look to add just to upgrade if you can.
Yeah, definitely could look for some depth pieces. I think if you're going to do that, you got a couple of names you could release and not lose any sleep over. I think, though, generally speaking, I think they are going to give Mathis a try. And I think with Bada and Allen and Payne, that's your Ridgeway too. That's your rotation, and then we'll see what they do from there. But typically late round guy, if anything. All right, I think I said Bouye Randall in the D tackle. I met him as a linebacker. Jamin Davis, Dejon Harris, Khaleke Hudson, Keandre Jones, Frankie Louvu, David Mayo, Bobby Wagner. It's not my fault, folks. This time of year, trying to find a decent roster is nearly impossible with all of the turnover. But what do you think about that linebacker room? Are you excited about those guys?
I am excited about those guys. Yeah, the top three, the guys they just signed, Louvu and of course Bobby Wagner, who, if you don't like Bobby Wagner, you are not a football fan, or you're a 49ers fan, one or the other. So yeah, that's a home run. That's my favorite signing of the offseason. It's Bobby Wagner, right? It's Bobby Wagner. I don't even know what to say. Even at age 32, he's better than whatever we've had for 10 years. So this is great. Frankie Louvu, again, we talked about Louvu last week as like the best player we've never heard of because he comes out of Carolina and that place is just like a black hole. So it's exciting to see him. It'll be exciting to see him here. And with Wagner here, he doesn't have to be the guy with the green dot on his helmet. He can just play fast and free if he needs to. And then, Jamin Davis is here. He's a super athletic. He's improved every year that he's been on this team. Can he make that leap to like becoming a stud linebacker now that he's got a legit unit around him? Can he just cut loose? I hope so. That'd be great. The rest of those guys, Hudson, I don't think has been re-signed yet. Mayo signed elsewhere already. So yeah, I don't know. The rest of the guys, the top three are all I care about right now. Those guys are great. You probably add somebody in the draft as well. There are some good linebackers to be had on day two, like in that third round range. So looking forward to adding some more linebacker depth. I don't think this is the finished product at all.
Yeah, I like what you said. Like what Jamin Davis has never had is a linebacker that's significantly better than him on the roster for him to learn from. Bobby Wagner instantly changes that, right? Now Jamin Davis has a pro's pro to learn from in a pivotal year in his development. He also have Louvu over there as well. I'm excited to see how they use him on the field. But I think maybe more than anything else, I'm excited for the mentorship that Bobby Wagner can provide to Jamin Davis and hopefully maximize Jamin Davis's abilities. Excellent call out there. All right, let's talk secondary. Tariq Castro Fields, Michael Davis, the new signing, Emmanuel Forbes, Christian Holmes, Caillou Blue Kelly, D'Angelo Mandel, Benjamin St. Juice, Nick Whiteside the second. Now, tell me how you feel,
man. They also signed that kid from Dallas. They brought that guy in. The backup, he's going to be a special teams player, most likely. He was the first round pick. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name because I don't even have it in front of me. It starts with an A. But yeah, so yeah, Mike Davis is intriguing because he was an undrafted free agent, I want to say in like 2017, and worked his way onto the roster and became a starter and was a pretty good starter for a long time. He had a lot of, not maybe in that St. Juice mold where the interception totals aren't there, but he had a lot of pass breakups. It has been a pretty solid cover guy. He was a little bit down last year, but they did a lot of weird rotation stuff apparently in San Diego, so he didn't get consistent field time maybe that he had the year before. And this is just going off what I read, so I certainly haven't watched a bunch of Chargers film. But based on what's out there, last year probably wasn't the best situation for him. So maybe he can rebound a little bit. I'm excited to see him because he has been pretty good. And again, he's 6'2", like 195, 200 pounds, runs a 4.35 40. Almost like, I shouldn't bring it up because I can't remember the name. The wide receiver that converted to cornerback a couple of years ago, Gruden had him. He was pretty good for a long time. Ended up going to Seattle.
Quinn Dunbar.
Dunbar. That's the athletic profile that you're looking at. A really good athlete, a really fluid athlete. So I'm excited for that. And I'm just curious what they do with St. Juste and Forbes. Which one of those guys do they really like better? Because Forbes seems to be one of those like tools guys, right? Where he's got size and everything, but he has zero ball skills as he has demonstrated over his couple of years here. And Forbes, who just was a high pick last year, probably a little bit overdrafted. It struggled, to be honest. And he was one of my guys. He was one of my darlings all draft season last year. I was very excited when they took him. Not at 16 though. I thought they would, maybe try to move back or take him in round 2 if he was there. Either way, he's here. I still like him a lot. I think he's the starter opposite Davis, with St. Juste, filling in some sort of a role somewhere. But it wouldn't surprise me at all to see a cornerback get drafted this year as well.
Yeah. Noah Igbinoghene.
Thank you.
I think Forbes is poised for a bounce back year, especially with Dan Quinn. I think Forbes will end the year as our number one cornerback. I think St. Juste is going to continue to be St. Juste. And I think, like Davis, I think you're a little bit more certain of than I am. I have my questions about Davis and what he has left and what he can do, mainly because I just haven't researched it myself. But I'll be interested to see how he looks early on in OTAs and we'll learn something from the start of OTAs about where folks are lining up and whatnot. And you're spot on with St. Juste and the lack of ball skills there. I mean, he's just never produced a lot of interceptions, and that's just not what he's done in college. It's not what he does in the pros. He's a cover guy, and when you go deep on him, there's some opportunity there for the offense. But
very grabby, very
handsy. That is correct. All right, let's look at our safeties real quick, sir. We have Terrell Burgess, Percy Butler, Jeremy Chin, Derek Forrest, Jatavius Martin, and Jeremy Reeves, who re-signed for special teams.
I like the safety group a lot. The athleticism is just I don't know if there's a more athletic safety group in the league than this group. Percy Butler, Quan Martin, those guys are fast and fluid athletes. We saw Derek Forrest, what he's been able to do when he was healthy. But without that quarterback, can Jeremy Chin be the quarterback of that defense the way Cam Curl was? Because one of the biggest the talent discrepancies that we saw in the past couple of years was like Derek Forrest on the field with Cam Curl and Derek Forrest on the field without Cam Curl. Like it was just two different players. So can he get his head screwed on straight, and can Jeremy Chin or whomever keep that keep things running smoothly as that coach on the field, or do they even need that with the new coaching staff? Maybe they just will know what to do. But yeah, the safety that's one of the stronger positions on the team, in my opinion. I think these guys are really, the athleticism back there is just phenomenal. And I can't wait to watch this group and what this defensive coaching staff can do with so many athletic guys back deep in the secondary.
Yeah. It's interesting because Derek Forrest doesn't always stay healthy either. But when he's on the field and he has support from a box safety, he is close to a Pro Bowl. At least he can play at a Pro Bowl level, right, for at least a game or two.
That Eagles game a couple of years ago when they went in on Monday night and beat him, he was phenomenal in that game.
Yeah, he's had a couple of games like that. But you're right, he needs the support underneath to be good. So I like the group. And the depth with the last year's draft choices is going to help immensely. We'll see what Chin has. I think he's a good pickup, but generally speaking, I think they leave that room alone for the most part. I don't see any significant upgrades. Just maybe some depth, special teams guys on the rosters. So, all right, Eric. Any final thoughts on the roster as it stands right now?
It is a work in progress, my friend. It's going to look a lot different come September or whatever when the games start. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually, this is probably the most excited I've been for a season in a couple of years. And I say that every year, but I mean, last year I kind of knew what it was gonna turn out to be. This year, I don't think we're gonna, the potential to be like a borderline playoff team is what I'm hoping for. I like the moves we're making, and I look forward to seeing how the rest of this offseason unfolds. It's going to be a very exciting season. The first real year of Josh Harris.
That's right. Do you think the roster is fundamentally better now than what it was 12 months ago?
I do. I mean, yeah, I do. With the exception, maybe the quarterback isn't here. Or, I mean, their quarterback hasn't been here, so I guess that's not even a real thing. But just overall, I mean, look at the linebacking core, the offensive line. It's those two groups have improved. I guess it's kind of a work in progress on the line because you still need to get the tackle position resolved. But the signings that they've made are vastly better than what they had last year, particularly at offensive line and at linebacker. With the defensive line, getting some help from a solid linebacking crew, I think it's going to be great.
I'm with you. I'm excited. I think the roster's better, and we're not done building it yet. And I think, unlike the Rivera era, we will get productivity out of our second-round draft picks. Rivera wasted second-round picks through his entire era with Mathis, a couple other dudes who did not turn out so good.
He got us Quan, though. Even though
it is.
Quan, everybody likes Quan, so we'll see.
We will see. Yeah, I think we'll have some early draft picks making some real impact. So the roster is coming together. Good job, Adam Peters, thus far. We look forward to the rest of what you have to do. Make sure you subscribe. Tell your friends to tell some friends. Pass the podcast around. And we will catch you next time. Shout out to Mike. Mike is on the road. We'll be back next episode. Commanders Declassified. We are out of here. Peace.